Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we got ourselves a track from an ex named Luna929 off of the YouTube channel Luna929 Productions, the song titled Freefall. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves a track on YouTube, the video for it, the art up on the screen. We're going to listen through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. It's done with that vinyl crackle. Oh, nice sub bass. I like the minimalism, how we go between layers. Oh, vocal chops as well. So that's a kind of nicely stylized instrumental. We're going to talk about it more though in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an ex named Luna929 of Luna929 Productions, the song titled Freefall. In this section I'm going to provide an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals. To be fair, it's an instrumental, so it's just what I think the track is about, as well as any studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I would say, given again the lack of vocals, that this is more about the feeling of being in freefall, to kind of simulate that, maybe the different stages and kind of like ways you cope with that descent. I think it's an interesting idea there. I feel like the fact that there's that ambiguity with the instrumental allowance there kind of makes it a little bit more sort of mysterious and intriguing. There are vocal chops, don't get me wrong, and I do like the melody and the harmony that they imply within the piece. It's just more that I think we've also got enough within the 1 minute 36 of this track in order to basically facilitate kind of like an interesting listening experience. You've just got this starting process there of this vinyl crackle, which immediately kind of gives it a sense of maybe being a bit more sort of like cinematic or old school. And with that synth lead that you have there, that brown, that's a very kind of distinct motif that establishes maybe a kind of a retro kind of video game design, which kind of works well alongside the kind of, you know, you can see the pixel art aesthetic that we've got in the background. When you get that bass coming though around the 8-second mark there, it's so peppy and strong with the sub bass. Its presence is palpable, and you've got a nice sort of click to it as well, which kind of makes it a bit more kind of bumpy and exciting. With the on beats and syncopated quarters, 8ths and 16ths that you have there's a lot of variety within it to be able to appreciate it. Once you get the cymbals, the snares, and the other kind of clicks and other taps around the far sides of the stereo field there, you just have a track which is quite well fleshed out in terms of the rhythm section and the drums there. And I like the fact that we're adjusting the layers as well as we go through there to sort of like elevate things. And I like the fact that things go backwards and forwards in a way that's not confusing. It's just more meant to be sort of like more, I suppose, like engaging for the listener. But we take that away around like the 35-second mark and go back to those kind of like pads or sort of organs and those drums, and it's just nice to not just continue with this consistent staircase. And at the 50-second mark, you've got these kind of washed out snare or sort of drum hits there that are just another sort of cool way to explore and implement the percussive side of things there, rolling again with chord notes, things being a bit more sort of like slow, facilitating the vocal chops to come in a bit later on for a bit of extra kind of like color in the upper range as we proceed through. And we kind of return to that main idea with the original layers a bit later on. We could have potentially have had more sort of late leads kind of dancing around to kind of further elevate it, but at the same time I feel like there's enough for an isolated concept in the first impression. To kind of have that bell curve peter out with the vinyl crackle near the end and that original kind of like harmony there with the extensions on the pads or whatever's going on, that last part is cool. it just kind of feels like things have come to a close. I felt like you could have potentially had like a big bang at the end as someone kind of maybe hit the floor, but at the same time, you end up kind of wondering where they are, whether they're actually going to find a floor at all. Structurally though, very sort of sound, great sort of transfers between parts there, and it's very kind of like easy to sort of comprehend the kind of direction they were going into from a songwriting production perspective. Thematically, it's in the minor key leaning, which sort of at least insinuates that they're not having a great time with things, and they're just trying to do the best they can to cope with that feeling or lack of control that they have. I think the extensions add a bit of emotional sophistication to it. The vocal chops might be them calling out, I'm not quite sure. But either way, still quite effective. The studio recording, mixing and mastering across the board is quite tight. The vocal chops, basses, drums, pads, any other kind of alter percussion clicks and sort of bits of ear candy that we have within here, as well as the reverb and delay tails. The reverb tails on those snares are quite nice. The added bit of extra oomph to those kicks in the line with the 808s is kind of dope. And ultimately, things are well niched within the frequency spectrum with very little kind of like resonant frequencies. Music surrounds you in the stereo field. Some stuff is especially panned out to the sides, which is an interesting sort of deliberate approach there that I feel is quite neat. It really makes those sections where everything is there sound a whole lot bigger. Nice and loud, bit of bumping, sidechaining, bus compression, limiting is handled, and I don't feel like we needed vocals for this to kind of make it more sort of like than it already needed to be. No applicable constructive critique, I think. Again, just from a final generalist perspective, I feel like there could have potentially have been like a lead at the end just to kind of maybe differently articulate some of the leads that we had prior to that. But that's just me sort of being greedy as a reviewer and wanting more. Ultimately, I feel like we had isolated concepts that were chapterized within this that seg neatly between one another. And it'd just be interesting to see where we go from there, whether we continue to make more tracks like this or whether we kind of want to explore other genres as well. But there was a nice amount of dynamic range, I didn't mention that, as well in post as well as compositionally. The use of crackle with the Foley was great at the start and finish, and ultimately things seemed quite well amalgamated. So thank you very much for watching my review of this track from Luna929, titled Freefall. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spiderhands out.